Hello there, and welcome to episode 28 of the State of Decay 2 coverage series. Today we have some juicy viewer comments, and I'm happy that we have such a vocal and talkative community, and I'm also super pleased to be the conveyor for these types of discussions, especially discussions about everything State of Decay 2. So please leave a comment on any video you'd like, even this one, so that we can have your comment in a future viewer comments episode. But with no further ado, let's get right into today's viewer comments. So our first viewer comment is from Richard, and Richard says, "Hey Arky, do you think we'll have gun customization such as red dot scopes, drum mags, and possibly custom stocks?" Well, I think, Richard, that within State of Decay 2, there may be a layer of gun customization, but I think that this customization will not be deep. I think it'll be a more subtle customization, but it's hard to tell. We do see in the most recent trailer that one of the characters were using a gun with a scope, so we don't know if this scope was put on the gun or if the gun comes that way. But I think with Undead Labs' track record for giving players a lot of choice and decisions to make, I think it's possible that we might see some customization when it comes to weaponry within State of Decay 2. But here's to hoping for that. We have no clear clarification on that specific question though. So we'll just have to wait and see. But Richard, Fiddler, thank you for your comment. Let's move on to the next one. So this next comment is from a friend of the channel, and this comment is from Harrible. Harrible says, "I wonder if when you kick out a community member, will they still exist in the world? Perhaps they join another community, or maybe they become a lone wolf, which will randomly appear on your minimap." And Harrible, I think that brings up a lot of different gameplay mechanics that can take place, like your former community member telling other enclaves about how the community he was once in banned him, and maybe that will cause enclaves to not like you too much. Or like you said, your former community member can become a lone wolf, and possibly even retaliate on your own community's home base. So I think, Harrible, that's a really fantastic question, and I hope it makes it into the final game. And guys, before we do move on to our next comment, let me just remind you, some of your ideas can make it into State of Decay 2. Just go over to the forums and leave your ideas and leave your discussions over on the Undead Labs forum page, so that we can possibly have some of these awesome things within State of Decay 2. So let's move on to our next comment. Thank you, Harrible, for that comment. So our next comment comes from Anthony. And Anthony says, "I kinda wish you had to take a shower or use the restroom and stuff like that." So Anthony, I think that State of Decay is a very unique franchise. And I think using the restroom or taking a shower would make State of Decay an even more unique franchise. But do I think it would make it a better franchise? I don't. I think that using the shower and having to use the restroom would kind of be a burden on me as a player. I'd rather go scavenge for food and get fuel for my car. I would rather worry about those type of looping game mechanics, not the repetitive having to take a shit. But Anthony, I think that's a great comment. I think it brings up some funny discussion, but I just don't think that it should be a part of State of Decay 2. But everyone is entitled to their gameplay wishes. So our next comment comes from Thin Blue Line, and Thin Blue says, "Gas for vehicles? Consider this game on my list for real." That's one of the things I was disappointed about in SOD 1. So Thin Blue Line, I completely agree. I'm super happy that we're going to have to fuel our cars to continue our trek on long journeys. But I do think that there are a lot of mechanics that players really wanted in State of Decay. And I think Undead Labs have taken all of that to heart, and they are going to implement a lot of those really intriguing features within State of Decay 2. So Thin Blue Line, I don't think there is going to be much to be disappointed about in State of Decay 2. So I'm happy that you're happy about this one particular mechanic, but I'm sure there's a ton more we don't even know about yet. So Thin Blue Line, buckle up, because I think State of Decay 2 is going to give us a lot of the things we really wanted as a community out of State of Decay. So thank you, Thin Blue Line. Let's move on to the next viewer comment. So our next viewer comment is from Delvin Osiris. And Delvin says, "Dear Arky, What if a player comes into your world with their character and dies? Do they spawn as one of your people, or do they revert back to their world? How does that work? Can you please use your Archie power to find the answer? So Delvin, I used my Archie powers, and it resulted in me going to the FAQ page over on Undead Labs website. So on the FAQ page, you can learn a lot about State of Decay 2 that hasn't been talked about anywhere else besides here and the FAQ page. So on the FAQ page, it says that you will be able to retain command of your community and the roster of characters within your community while in multiplayer. So what that says to me is that you're going to continue to have control over your characters while playing with other players. So I don't think you have to be too worried when it comes to multiplayer being too open-ended. But I hope that answers your question. So let's move on to the next comment. So our last comment comes from Ben Francis, and Ben says, what's to stop someone from deliberately sabotaging a mission, or making loads of noise and getting your base destroyed by multiple hordes? So Ben, we do know that you can grief your friends, and your friends can grief you. So I think when you go into a multiplayer session, you have to be aware of the people you're playing with. I'd stay clear from any of your asshole friends, and maybe just play with people that you trust and can rely on not to grief you. So Ben, yeah, there's griefing. It's going to happen in any multiplayer game like this. So there really isn't a clear-cut answer on how to stop it besides just not playing with people you don't trust. So Ben, I hope that clears it up for you. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed those viewer comments, and don't be shy to leave your topics or discussions down below so that you can fuel our next viewer comments video. Also, don't forget that we do have our weekly live gaming podcast called The Gamescast every Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for watching, leave a like, also subscribe if you'd like to stay up to date with everything State of Decay 2. I love you guys, I'll see you in the next one, peace.